Hey, I'm Josh Voorhees. Welcome back to our garden. So, summer is still here and our peppers are looking amazing, our tomatoes are looking great, and our okra's coming on strong, but it's time to start thinking about those fall vegetables and not just thinking, sowing. In fact, I've already sown a few and I'll show you guys what we're doing to prepare for fall as we move into this cooler season. Funny enough, the first thing I'm going to show you aren't vegetables at all. They're actually flowers. So there's a lot of flowers that you can sow in summer that will mature and bloom at the end of fall. And what I have here are dwarf sunflowers and dwarf marigolds. And these are great to grow towards fall because they mature very rapidly. So you get beautiful blooms that draw in beneficial insects and birds and all kinds of things for your garden. So it's a great thing to grow. All right, so our first vegetable is going to be summer squash. This is a crookneck variety of yellow summer squash. It's a fast maturing variety. So if you're going to plant something in late summer, if you're going to do yellow squash, just check those days to maturity because that's really important. But this should mature in plenty of time before our last frost. We have about, I want to say it's about 70-ish days until our first average last frost date. So this is a perfect vegetable to grow until then. All right, so these are brassicas, and in my opinion, these are the all-stars of a fall garden. So brassicas are things like cauliflower and cabbage, kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. They prefer cooler weather, but not all want it to be freezing. So there's a sweet spot in the fall, especially here in the South, where if we plant them in late summer, we have plenty of time for them to mature before the frost comes. And some of them, like broccoli, might even benefit from a light frost because it causes their heads to get a little sweeter. But you do need to make sure that you plant them early enough and also select varieties that will mature in enough time before your final frost date. Now, there's a couple ways to grow brassicas. You can direct seed them. In fact, I've actually direct seeded most of these rows here, but we had some pretty heavy rains that came in right after I planted them. And unfortunately, I think some of the seeds got washed away. So as a backup, I seeded this tray with all of the remaining seeds that I have. So what I'll do, you can see that these are pretty thickly sowed. Ordinarily, you wouldn't want to leave them that close together, but I'm going to get them big enough and then I will gently tease them apart and go ahead and fill in the gaps in this row. So, or if you want, you could sow them directly in trays. Just make sure there's only one plant per tray, take good care of them, and then transplant those out into the garden. It just depends on what works for you. If you live near a really good nursery or maybe a farmer's market, you might have someone who's growing brassica transplants that you could just buy. So a lot of different options, but they are definitely worth growing here in the fall. Now, the brassicas that I've sown in this garden are cabbages, cauliflower behind those. In front, we're going to have broccoli, and then Brussels sprouts will be behind here. And those are the longest maturing types of brassicas, but there's also a bunch of brassicas that are much more faster growing, but they do prefer cooler weather. So later on this month, or even early September, I'll start to sow things like radishes and kale and some of the mustard green, Asian type greens that prefer cooler weather, but they mature much more quickly. Another great crop to grow in the fall is somewhat like the summer squash in that it's not a cool season crop per se, but it does really well in the fall if you choose the right variety, and that is bush beans. Green beans in the bush variety, very fast maturing, something like 55 days. So I have sown another crop of bush beans here, so we actually will get another harvest before the frost comes. I have another non-vegetable right here. These are cosmos flowers. They're, again, a great thing to grow in the fall because you can start them in late summer. They grow really, really quickly, and they'll put on a beautiful display of flowers. And if you haven't grown flowers, you're not growing flowers in your vegetable garden, you should consider it because flowers are amazing. They don't just bring beauty, but they bring pollinators and they bring a lot of other beneficial insects. And if they are the type of flowers that produce seeds, they'll also bring in birds. So you're kind of creating this really beneficial ecosystem for your garden that's going to benefit your vegetables as well. Now, this last one might be a little bit more surprising. These are green peas, specifically sugar snap peas. Those are the ones that have the fat pods that you can just eat the whole thing. They're not for shelling, they're just for eating fresh. Peas are something that love cooler weather. And here in the South, our fall, once it starts to cool down, is perfect for them. But we have to get them started before that so that they can mature and set their pods before the frosts come. So I've actually never grown them before this way in the fall, but I've been doing some research with other southern gardeners who have been successful. And here are some of the tricks that they recommended. The first one is soaking the peas about half a day and then sewing them into a damp paper towel. I actually used a Ziploc bag to just keep everything moist. And then after a couple of days, they will start to sprout. And oop, there goes one. This is called pre-sprouting. And I'm going to sow them about 2 inches down so that the peas stay a little bit cooler. I will come with a 30% shade cloth and hoops and cover them just to get them established. We're supposed to get some really hot weather, honestly. It's like going to be 90 degrees plus the next 10 days. So we want to keep them cool, keep them moist. And the hope is, the intent is that once we start to cool down here towards the end of August, we'll take that shade cloth off and then they can just grow freely and produce pods right before frost. So it's going to be a fun experiment. I'm hopeful. I think it's going to work out, but we'll see. Well, as you all probably know, the garden isn't all sunshine and cucumbers. Speaking of cucumbers, this is our attempt at sowing multiple successions of cucumbers to keep them going, but as you can see, they look miserable. I've been doing my best to spray these to keep the bugs off of them. I've used kale and clay, I've used spinosad, I've used pyrethrin, but they are just getting attacked. It's a little bit frustrating. What I have done actually is at my house, I have a pot and I've sowed the remaining cucumber seeds that we have in hopes of by the time they're ready to transplant, I'm hoping that the bug pressure is gonna have lessened by then. But everyone says, you know, keep sowing cucumbers throughout the summer. They're gonna do great, but I just am struggling, folks. But it's okay. We had our fill of cucumbers this year and we'll definitely see how the rest go. I'm hoping that if all goes according to plan, we'll have one last harvest before frost. So I know we've been talking all about fall and it's good to be prepared and I encourage you to do that, but don't give up on your summer stuff just yet. I know some people really love fall. They are excited for it. They're excited for all the things, but I'm not ready to let summer go yet. Fun fact, did you know that okra is actually edible raw? It tastes pretty good. It's sort of nutty. Of course, if you don't like that slimy flavor, you may not love to eat it raw, but I don't know, I think it's a good snack. I'm gonna keep harvesting my summer vegetables like these okra. We have tomatoes, we have peppers, but I think once we get to fall, I'll appreciate it. But for right now, I'm just gonna keep plugging along. Thanks for watching.